Behind cold bars and beneath flickering lights, their eyes met hers, sharp with duty, his heavy with untold sorrow. She wasn't looking for love. He had stopped believing in it. But in a place built to keep people apart, something tender began to grow in silence. Sit back, relax, as we dive into a story of unexpected romance, quiet redemption, and a love that dared to bloom behind locked doors. It was the kind of rain that didn't stop. A cold drizzle that had started the night before and hadn't let up since. Gray clouds hung low over Marston Correctional Facility, casting a shadow over the yard where prisoners moved like ghosts in orange jumpsuits inside behind reinforced walls and electric fences. The weight of justice or something pretending to be it pressed down harder than the concrete. Warden Nia Lawson stood at the control tower, her eyes scanning the monitors with clinical precision. 37 years old, sharp-witted and steel-nerved, she had risen fast through the ranks of the state correction system. Unlike most in her position, Nia had never believed that her job was just to keep inmates locked up. She believed in purpose redemption, but it was a belief she rarely spoke aloud. The system didn't reward compassion. That morning, a sealed file landed on her desk, red confidential stamped across the top. She tore it open, frowning as she scanned the report. Inmate number 427,118. Name, Malcolm Reeves. Age 24, convicted for matricide murder of his own mother. Poisoned her tea, they said. Then tried to run. Neighbors testified. Police found herbal toxins in the house. Case closed. Life sentence. But then came the part that made Nia's brow furrow deeper. Malcolm was terminally ill. Internal bleeding, failing organs, traces of the same poison found in his mother. Medical reports showed he'd likely ingested it at the same time. Yet, no one had considered that possibility that he may not have been the murderer, but another victim. Nia leaned back in her chair, flipping through the attached court transcripts. No history of violence. Honor student worked part-time to pay bills. The motive non-existent. The lawyer, a public defender who barely fought back. He seems like a good guy, she whispered. Maybe fate was against him or he was wrongfully convicted. Warden Nia Lawson wasn't the kind of woman who let emotions interfere with her duties. But there was something different about inmate Malcolm Reeves. She had seen thousands of inmates come and go. Loud ones, bitter ones, hardened ones. But Malcolm, he was quiet, not withdrawn or hostile, just still. Still, in a way that made the chaos of the prison world pause around him. He didn't curse out the guards. He didn't shout his innocence. He didn't ask for anything. He simply sat in the infirmary cell, the coroner light flickering above him, eyes locked on a spot on the wall like it held the key to everything he had lost. Nia started pausing by his door longer than she realized. At first, she told herself it was just part of her rounds. Due diligence, protocol, but deep down she knew it wasn't that. This man was broken, but not shattered. There was a dignity to his silence, and it haunted her. It's been 2 weeks. Malcolm arrived the prison yard. On a day when the air in the prison felt heavier than usual, Nia stood at the threshold of his room, hands clasped behind her back. You never ask for anything, she finally said. Malcolm didn't look up. No one listens. She stepped closer. I'm listening. His gaze shifted slowly toward her. Measured skeptical, but in his eyes there was no anger, only something close to wonder. Then you're the first. That was all he said, but it was enough. That night, Nia sat at her desk, unable to focus on reports, his voice, low, certain, and sad, echoed in her head. Then you're the first. It sounded like a truth he'd carried alone for too long. A few days later, while they sat by the small barred window, letting in slivers of sunlight, Malcolm asked, You ever lost someone and nobody seemed to care? Nia looked at him startled. He rarely initiated conversation. My brother, she said softly, shot 5 blocks from our house. Wrong place, wrong time. They arrested someone. Case closed. But I knew they had the wrong man. What did you do? Became a cop. Then a warden. I figured maybe I could stop one more person from slipping through the cracks. He nodded slowly. That's a better reason than most people wear the badge. You always talk like you're older than you are, she said. Half smiling. I had to grow up early. My mother, She raised me alone, taught me never to raise my voice, said real strength is in restraint. But now she is gone and I'm being blamed for her death. Nia looked at him, his eyes stays at all innocence. Then she took a deep breath and said, "Do you ever wonder?" Nia said slowly, "If we were meant to meet people in places like this, people who aren't supposed to change your life, but do." Malcolm gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, but I never thought that person would be the warden, and I never thought mine would be a dying man in an orange jumpsuit." She replied softly, a hint of warmth in her tone. They sat in that silence again, this time, not as strangers, not as Word and an inmate, but as two wounded souls who had somehow found understanding in a place built to crush it. Then she gently asked Malcolm, "If you could have one last request, anything within reason, what would it be?" He didn't answer right away. Just kept staring at the stars. Then, with a fragile voice full of longing, he said, "I want to spend my last nights with someone who believes I didn't do it. Even if it's only an hour with you." The request struck her personal, unusual, maybe even manipulative. But the look in his eyes, empty yet desperate, told a different story. "I'll consider it," she said carefully, standing up. As she walked away, she heard him whisper, "You already know I didn't do it. That's why you're still standing here." And just like that, the door to something deeper creaked open. Some prisons are made of concrete. Others are built from silence. The next day came colder than the last. Nia sat in her office again, this time staring at an old picture of her younger brother. He died in prison wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't commit. She had been 16, powerless, watching her mother scream at courtroom walls that didn't care. That memory followed her like a ghost into adulthood. That's why she joined the system, to protect the ones who got swallowed by it. But even with her position, there were limits. Bureaucracy, politics, corruption. Even now, she was risking scrutiny just by not dismissing Malcolm's case like everyone else had. For the next week, she began visiting his room every night. Not to fulfill his last wish yet, but to understand. Each evening, he spoke slowly, deliberately, not pleading, not demanding, just telling stories about his mother, June Reeves, a community herbalist and midwife. Beloved in their neighborhood, trusted. She taught him to read by 6. Taught him to grow herbs in pots outside their small apartment. She used to say healing wasn't just about medicine. Malcolm said one night, his voice softer than usual, "It's about listening." Nia nodded slowly. "So tell me what happened that day." He closed his eyes. "I came home from class. She was lying on the kitchen floor. Tea spilled, eyes wide. I thought she fainted. I ran to her, tried to wake her, but she was cold. I grabbed the cup, smelled something wrong. Then I took a sip." Nia froze. "You drank from it." Malcolm nodded. "I don't know why. Maybe I didn't believe what I was seeing. Maybe I just didn't care anymore. All I remember next is the sirens. The neighbors, and waking up in a cell. It was then she knew. No murderer would reenact their pain like that. No killer mourned with such tenderness." The next day, she began digging. She called an old friend, Dr. Grace Turner, a toxicologist from her university days. She asked for a second opinion on the autopsy reports. "Send me everything," Grace said. "Let's see what the system missed." Then Nia tracked down neighbors, friends, anyone who knew June Reeves. A pattern began to emerge. June had filed several complaints weeks before her death about someone named Marcus Trent, an underground herbal dealer who'd once worked with her, but began cutting remedies with dangerous chemicals. She'd warned others about him, threatened to report him to the state. 2 nights later, Nia sat across from Malcolm again. "Did your mother have enemies?" she asked. He nodded. "Just one. Marcus. She told me to stay away from him. He tried to ruin her business. Said she was getting in his way." "Do you think he did it?" "I don't think," Malcolm said bitterly. "I know." With that, Nia began preparing her petition to the Board of Review. She requested a temporary stay of confinement, citing fresh evidence and prosecutorial negligence. It was a gamble, but what was justice? If not worth gambling for in the end, justice doesn't shout. It whispers through the brave. 2 weeks later, the hearing was scheduled, a rare opportunity. Malcolm was allowed to attend fragile. In a wheelchair, but present, Nia stood at the front of the courtroom, presenting every document, every testimony, every ounce of truth she had gathered. The judges listened silently. Grace's report, revealing traces of a rare synthetic compound, something never found in June's personal stock, shifted the mood in the room. Then came the final blow. A former associate of Marcus Trant, now in rehab, gave a sworn statement. He confessed to helping Marcus break into June's home that day. Said Marcus spiked herbal mix to teach her a lesson. Malcolm had just arrived home when it happened. He was never supposed to be harmed. The board took an hour to deliberate. An hour that felt like years. Then came the verdict. Case reopened. Charges against Malcolm Reeves dismissed. Official pardon granted. Tears slid down Nia's face as Malcolm turned slowly toward her. His lips trembled, but no words came. He didn't need to speak. Outside the courtroom, the sun was breaking through the gray for the first time in weeks. Malcolm looked up, blinking at the light. "You gave me back my name," he whispered. Nia placed a hand on his shoulder. "No, you never lost it. The world just forgot to say it." Weeks passed. They texted, called, and then one night, under the orange glow of a street lamp outside a small diner, Nia waited for him. He stepped out of a borrowed car in a worn suit someone from the reintegration program had handed him. "You still drink too much coffee," he said with a grin. "And you still talk like a poet," she replied. Her arms folded, they sat. They laughed. And by the time dessert came, her hand was resting over his on the table, tentative at first, then steady. "I didn't think I'd ever feel like a man again," Malcolm said quietly. "Not until you." She smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes. "And I didn't think I could fall for someone I once kept behind bars." He leaned in, and she didn't move away. The kiss was soft, careful, like everything between them had always been leading here. And as the city buzzed around them, two souls once caged in different ways found freedom not just in justice but in each other. The end. Thanks for watching. What lessons did you learn from this? Drop your comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more powerful tales that touch the heart and stir the soul. Your support helps bring these untold stories to life. See you in the next one.